You've probably got your SAT date circled, and every time you look at it, the panic kicks in. You've done practice tests, watched YouTube breakdowns, maybe even reread your notes 30 times. But your SAT score still isn't moving, and with the exam creeping up, if you don't fix that right now, you're risking a low score, and the schools you actually want could slip out of reach. And this video walks you through 12 proven strategies every top scorer masters before test day, so you're not just guessing what to study, you will finally know where to focus, how to prepare smarter, and walk into that room with zero second guessing. So let's get started. Today, we're talking about improving your SAT score by at least 100 points. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through my 7 favorite SAT tips that will massively improve your SAT score. After watching this, you will think differently about the way you solve SAT questions. By the way, I'm Azamat and I've helped over 100 students to improve their SAT scores. Alright, let's dive in. Tip number 1 is what I call equal not superior technique. You're seconds away from picking your answer. You've narrowed it down into 2 choices, your heart is racing, one answer seems to fit, but the other feels slightly better, and then bam, time's up, you pick the wrong one. Why? Because the SAT just pulled its sneaky tricks on you. Here's what they do. They give you a passage that describes 2 behaviors, one about cleaning, the other about hunting. No judgment, no comparison. There are just facts. Then in the answer choices, they throw in a trap, one that suggests one behavior is more important than the other, and your brain, craving simplicity, falls for it. Maybe you think, well, they did spend a bit more time talking about cleaning, so it must be the focus, right? Well, that's actually wrong. And that's exactly what they want you to think. And here's the secret. Look for equal weight, not implied priority. If a passage presents 2 things neutrally without comparing them, the correct answer will not suggest one is better or worse. If an answer choice says contrast, preference, cross it out immediately. The right answer, it will match the neutral tone of the passage, just stating facts, no preference and no bias. And that's why C is correct. So next time, here's what you need to do. If a passage describes multiple things without comparing them, then immediately eliminate any answer that says contrast, preference, or better than. I'll look for an answer that keeps a neutral descriptive tone. That's how you beat the SAT on its own game. But there is still one more trick they use that almost nobody talks about. And if you don't catch it, you'll fall for it every single time. Tip number 2 is what I call the forbidden value trick. You're flying through your SAT math section, question after question, you feel unstoppable, and then you see it. A simple looking equation, x multiplied by r minus 5 plus 4 equals 13x plus 30. It kind of sounds easy, but there is a trap, and if you don't catch it, you're walking straight into a score-crushing mistake. The question asks, what cannot be the value of r? Most students start solving for x, moving terms around and trying to get an answer. And that's exactly what the SAT wants you to do. Waste your valuable time. But what if I told you there is a shortcut, a way to solve this instantly without doing all the algebra? By the way, en route to being able to ace the digital SAT, figuring all this stuff, I highly advise you to check out a really helpful platform called deeptest.ai, who are very kindly sponsoring this video. And it's actually a platform that I've genuinely found really useful. If you're prepping for the digital SAT, this is honestly a game changer. Deep Tests gives you targeted SAT practice tests, and the best part? You get access to 7 full tests completely free. But what makes Deep Tests special is the post-test breakdown. It doesn't just say you got a 1340. It shows your performance by difficulty, by knowledge and skill, and even by question subtype, so you know exactly where you're weak. Most platforms don't even come close to this kind of analysis. So far, over 33,000 tests have been taken by students from 120 plus countries, and many of them have seen measurable score increases. There are also topic-based exercises to improve your weaknesses that you found from practice tests. So if you want to increase your SAT score, just head to deeptest.ai. Link is in the description. Start with the free tests, explore your results, and see what you learned. You keep working through the equation, you're convinced that you're getting closer. You simplify, you isolate x, and then something weird happens. You end up with an equation that suddenly doesn't work. The numbers don't add up, your calculator gives an error. Your confidence is shattered. But here's the trick. Instead of solving for x, look at when the equation breaks. In SAT Math, an equation has exactly one solution as long as the coefficient of x is not 0. And if the coefficient of x disappears, the equation collapses, making it impossible to solve. So let's break it down. Firstly, rearrange the equation x multiplied by r minus 5 minus 13x equals 26. Factor out x. So we get x multiplied by r minus 5 minus 13 equals 26, and that will equal to this. For there to be exactly one solution, r minus 18 doesn't equal to 0, which means r cannot be 18. So that's our answer. Choice C, 18. Now that you know the trick, here's how to use it in other SAT questions. Always check when the coefficient of x becomes 0. This is the SAT's hidden breaking point. If an equation has no solution, that means the forbidden value is the answer. Instead of solving the whole equation, eliminate the impossible value instantly. By the way, if you're serious about boosting your SAT score, make sure to click the join button below. You're in the middle of the SAT, dialed in, locked, cooking, and then boom, a word that you've never seen before. Incontrovertible. Clock is ticking, heart is racing. Does it mean controversial? The opposite? What do? You're gonna panic, guess, or maybe move on. And just like that, one question could cost you tens of points. But here's the crazy part. You already know the answer. And it's not just to this word, to dozens of other words as well. The SAT is a trap. They try to slow you down and they want you to burn time. And most students, they fall for it. They think the only way out is to memorize hundreds of words, which is like trying to drink the entire ocean. But here's the cheat code. Instead of memorizing words, you decode them. You may be thinking, how? A prefix is like a secret key. It tells you exactly what a word means before you even finish reading it. And check this out. In means not. Contra means against. Vert means turn. So if you put it together, we get not able to turn against, aka undeniable. So boom, word cracked, no memorization, no stress. But what if the SAT throws something worse at you? Like misapprehend. Are you gonna guess, skip, or are you gonna pray? No, you break it down. Mis means wrong. Apprehend means to understand. So misapprehend means to understand something incorrectly. You didn't memorize it, you kind of unlocked it. And here's where it gets wild. There are only 32 prefixes that make up most of the hard words on the SAT. Pre means before, precede, which means to come before. Sub means under, submarine means underwater. Re means again, rebuild means to build again. And I put all 32 of them into a free worksheet that you can find in the description below. You're reading an SAT science passage. The words, pure nonsense. Mitochondrial transcription factors regulate gene expression in response to oxidative stress. What does that even mean? You read it and still nothing. Clock is ticking, stress is rising, and your score is dropping. But here's the fix. A simple trick that makes science passages 10x easier to understand. And here's the truth. Most of the science terms don't matter. The SAT doesn't really care if you know what oxidate phosphorylation is, so don't waste your time decoding those complex terms. Instead, focus on what actually makes sense. The passage says transcription factors influence cellular response. Ignore transcription factors. Just focus on influence response. So make sure that you skip the jargon and read the meaning instead. When you stop getting stuck on jargon, everything changes. You read faster, you understand better and more, you answer questions with confidence. There are 4 strategies that you need to know if you want to get a high SAT score. And in this video, I'll show you each of those strategies and I'll explain exactly how you can use them on SAT questions. So, by the way, my name's Azamas and I got 780 on the SAT math section. So, let's get into it. So, the first strategy is eliminating fractions early on in these types of questions. And to show you how to use this strategy, let's solve this exact question. So the first thing that you want to do is that you want to eliminate fractions early on, as I said before. So to do that, we should find the least common denominator. In this case, the least common denominator is 6xyz. And what we can do is we can multiply the entire equation by this equation. So we can multiply the entire equation by this. So let's do that step by step. 6xyz multiplied by 1 over 3xy plus 6xyz multiplied by xyz, and that is going to equal to 6xyz multiplied by 1 over 2yz, 1 over 2yz. So now we can simplify each term here. X and y are removed here. And 6 over 3, that's going to equal to 2. So we got 2z plus 6xyz squared. And that's going to equal to, we can remove y and z here. And 6 over 2 equals 3. So 3x. So now we can solve for y. And before solving for y, let's subtract 2z from both sides. That is well 2z. So that will be 6 multiplied by x, y, z squared. And that's equal to 3x minus 2z. And now we can divide both sides by 6. So we get x, y, z squared equals 3x minus 2z divided by 6. And now we can take the square root of both sides. So that would be x, y, z equals 3x minus 2z divided by 6x. And now what we can do is we can divide both sides by z by zx so that we can isolate y. So that would be this multiplied by 1 over xy. Here is more.
multiplied by 1 over x z. So we can eliminate x and z here so that the y equals, and what we can do in this case is 1 over 6z is the same as 1 over x squared z squared. So we can rewrite it this way, and then we multiply these two things. We can rewrite it as y equals square root of 3x minus 2z divided by 6x squared that squared. So y is going to equal to this. By the way, 99% of students are grinding for months, and most of them still are scoring so low. And you might be wondering why. And the reason is they're focused on the wrong things. And on May 24th, I'm hosting a free live SAT challenge where I will show you the one strategy that top scorers use and how to master it, even if you've never taken a test before. Seats are very limited, so hit the link in the description to register. Strategy number 2 that you need to know is looking for transitions. Well, not just in transition questions, but also in SAT reading questions as well. Transition words like however, moreover, or in contrast, they usually indicate shifts in the direction of the argument. So in order to illustrate the strategy, let me show you how to use that exact same strategy in this SAT reading questions. So to solve this question, you first need to analyze the overall structure of the text. So it asks for that. So the passage starts off by stating a very general claim, saying movies from independent studios are often praised for being innovative. And then it is giving a specific example. Take, for instance, Moonlight 2016, which is made by A24 production company. And it's giving a specific example of Moonlight, and it's true that this movie shares themes with other coming-of-age films. But just because a movie explores familiar territory doesn't mean it can also be groundbreaking. So it's introducing a contrast with the transition word of but. And it is saying that it's giving a counterpoint. Despite movies might have familiar themes, it cannot still be groundbreaking. So, yeah. Critics generally agree that Moonlight isn't the most conventional independent film, but independent films are rarely as formulaic as some people suggest. Then it's presenting the main argument. And the main argument here is independent films are not as formulaic as some people claim. And some independent productions, like the Florida Project, are remarkably distinctive. And finally, it's giving us another example of the Florida Project so that they can to support this argument. Now, let's look at the answer choices. Choice A, the text summarizes the plot of an independent film, then explains how the themes are developed in a later film by the same director. Well, A is wrong because the text doesn't even summarize any plot or discuss later films by the same director, so that's why A is wrong. Choice B, the text explains why some viewers appreciated a particular independent film, then considers why other viewers criticized it. Well, choice B is wrong because the text doesn't focus on explaining different viewers' perspectives, whether one sort of a viewer enjoyed it or the other type of a viewer didn't enjoy it. So it doesn't focus on explaining perspectives perspectives of different viewers. So that's why B is wrong. Choice C. The text describes audience's reaction to a movie from an independent studio, then presents some critics' reactions to that movie. Well, choice C is wrong because the text doesn't even describe audience reactions specifically. There's nothing about the reaction, so that's why C is wrong. Choice D, the text discusses a common praise of independent films, then argues that the praise is mostly warranted. Well, choice D is the correct answer because the reading passage discusses a very common phrase of independent films being innovative, and then it talks about that this praise is generally deserved. Although some films might share familiar elements, so that's why D is right. So now let's move on to the next SAT question. So here we've got the equations and you need to find the value of A minus B. So let's solve it. So the first thing is we need to find the common denominator. So common denominator here is 4. So what you can do is you can multiply this one by 2. So let's solve that. A minus 12 over 4 plus 2B plus 30 divided by 4 is going to equal to minus 3. So we can add these things together. So that would be A plus 2B plus 18 divided by 4. And that's going to equal to negative 3. And we can multiply both sides by 4. And we get A plus 2B plus 18 equals negative 12. And from here we got A plus 2B equals negative 30. So here we've got this simplified version of the first equation, equation 1. And now let's simplify the second equation. So here we've got the second equation, and we can multiply this part by 2. So that would be 2A minus 24 divided by 4 minus B plus 15 divided by 4 equals 4. So from here, we can get 2A minus B minus 39. 39 divided by 4, and that's going to equal to 4. And now we can multiply both sides by 4. So we get... so let me erase this, and we get 16. So yep, so that's going to equal to 16. And you can add 39 to both sides. So after that, we got 2A minus B equals 55. And now we have the second equation as well, the simplified version of it. Equation number 2, and we also have the simplified version of equation 1 as well. Now we can use elimination by adding both of these equations, and yeah, that's in realized. So plus, let me get it from here. Yep, here we've got it. So, yep, we can add both of these here. I guess the best thing that we can do is that we can divide this part by 2, so that's going to be a lot easier here. So if we multiply it by 2, we will have 4 here, and here we will have negative 60. and it's better to subtract it. So let's do that. So that the 5b equals negative 105. So b equals, so that'll be 21, negative 21. And we found b. Now we should find a. Let's put it in this equation. So that'll be 2a plus 40 plus 21 equals 55. So we can subtract 21 from both sides. So we get 2a equals 34 and a equals 17. So the question asks it for the value of a minus b. So that would be like this. So 17 minus 21. Double negatives equal to positive. So we have 38, and our answer is 38. And that's a free response question. So we can write 38 here.
You want to boost your SAT score by over 100 plus points, and you need a proven system that actually works, then check out this video where I explain exactly why you're not getting the score that you actually deserve and exactly how to fix it. So check out that video.